Today, we'll be talking about how to validate yourself. And so if we're going to be validating ourselves, then that means we're going to take a break from searching on the outside for validation. We're going to take a break from looking to others or other things that are superficial in order to get the validation in life that we crave. But what really is validation anyhow? Why is it so important to us? It seems like as humans, we want to feel important. We want to feel legitimate. We want to feel like we have a place and like we belong. Narcissists are so desperate for validation that they will actually manipulate the people in their lives in order to get that validation. They will purposely trick people. They will lie. They will cheat in order to receive validation. This is as a result of their trauma. But for you as a trauma survivor as well, you feel a desperation for validation. Really, all people could desire validation. But when we've survived complex trauma, we feel all the more so this desperation to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to be liked, to not be rejected, to feel important, to feel valid, to be legitimate. And we don't know how to find it because we may not be willing to go as far as the narcissist goes, the ego path in their manipulations, because as an empath, we feel unable to do something that we think could hurt or harm others, but we still feel that desperation for the validation. And so we figure relationships. If I just find a big, strong man who can validate my existence, stand by my side, be with me, cuddle with me, love me, then I'll be valid. Or some people figure, if I just had 100,000 followers on YouTube, then I would be valid. I will finally feel the sense of validation, like I really matter, like I'm really seen, like I'm really important. If I just had 100,000 followers on YouTube. Or other people seek it in their daily interactions through people pleasing. And so they're constantly saying, yes, sure, yeah, we can do that, and agreeing with everything and going along with every plan so that they won't feel invalidated or rejected, because they're afraid that if people saw what they really thought and how they really felt and their true personality, people would turn around and reject them, leave them behind and say, you know what? I don't really like Roman. I don't like his feelings, his ideas. I don't like the authentic him. And so that fear of rejection keeps us constantly just doing whatever, bending over backwards, laying ourselves down. Hey, we're just a doormat. You can walk right over me. But the irony is you actually feel less valid when you teach people to treat you as a doormat, because then they learn to treat you as such. And it becomes a constantly invalidating cycle. But our relationships, the solution to our lack of validation, our desire to feel valid, well, many survivors find that their desperation to be in a relationship leads them into a relationship with people who are egopathic and abusive, who tear them down and hurt them physically and emotionally, who abandon them, who neglect them. And nothing makes you feel less valid than sitting or standing or laying next to a man or a woman that has the job, the responsibility, has made the promise to love you, and still will not do it. And so the seeking of validation through relationships actually leads us to find even less validation as a result. But what about if we get those 100,000 followers on YouTube? Then will we feel valid then? Will we feel truly seen? Well, so many have gotten to their goals in followers on Instagram or YouTube or whatever their platform, and only to find that it's empty. It doesn't make them feel finally seen or finally validated. It may have some benefits, just like when you accomplish any goal, but their sense of self-worth doesn't increase. In fact, it can make them feel worse because in front of so many eyes now, if they before maybe had like 3 abusive people in their life, now they have 30,000 abusive people who are following them just to comment negatively and to dislike the posts and to make fun of. And so they feel even more invalidated. And so why is it that as survivors, when we're seeking the validation through the relationships and through the fame and through the pleasing, we actually end up feeling more invalidated? The reason is because we're seeking the validation in the wrong place. If you've been coming to these meetings for some time, or if you're in the trauma healing course, you may have learned about abandonment trauma. And the way to heal the abandonment trauma is to stop abandoning yourself. We keep looking for some man or some woman that's going to come along and make us feel unabandoned. But that's not actually the key to healing abandonment trauma. The way to heal your abandonment is to stop abandoning the self. If you have neglect trauma, the way to heal from your neglect trauma is to stop neglecting yourself. And interestingly, as we go down the list of where our traumas come from, for instance, if we were verbally abused and torn down, we have self-esteem issues. The way to heal from that is to stop verbally abusing and tearing down the self. Well, why does it all come back to us? Because wasn't it the parents that really led us in this direction in the first place? Well, when we look back in the past, of course, we came from a background of complex trauma. There could have been a chaotic household, unpredictable caregivers, people who were neglecting, judgmental, harsh, cruel, crushing, abusive, or all of the above. But as a child grows, a child is supposed to become increasingly independent. Picture, if you will, a child that grows up in a healthy home. And for some of us, that could be really difficult. A healthy home, what would that be like? Well, someone that grows up in a healthy home would have a father that would validate them. Well, how is your dad supposed to validate you? Every single day, telling his daughter, telling his son, you are beautiful, you are capable, you are wonderful, you are important, you are valid. I love you, your mother loves you, you're conceived in love, you are abundant in gifts, you can do anything you put your mind to. I am so proud of you. I am proud to be your father. How often is a child supposed to hear that? All the time, right? Every day, a child needs to hear that. And how often did you hear that growing up? Some of us, not so much. Some of us, some people have said, Roman, I never heard that. My father never told me that. And if that's your case, I am so sorry. But if we go to that healthy home, how would that child grow up? How would their subconscious mind be trained? You see, as they increase in age, they're increasing in independence. And so over time, they need less and less of the validation of the father. In fact, when they become adolescents, the father's going to their daughter, Oh, you look so beautiful. I love you. And the daughter's going, Dad, I know, Dad. Right? Oh, you're so embarrassing, Dad. Why? Well, it's a part of the natural progression of the child. As the child gets older, it's like, I don't need so much of that anymore. I don't need so much of that, right? And then eventually they grow up and they move out of the home and they're no longer talking to the parent on a daily basis. So where does an adult who was raised in a healthy home continue to receive their validation from? Think about that for a moment. You were raised in a healthy home. You got it from your dad every day. So how come you don't miss it when you're out? Where do you get it from as an adult? The self. You're right. You get it from yourself, and it's a lot easier. When you grew up in a home where your dad was telling you, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're healthy, you're wonderful, you're so good, you're talented, I love you, I love it. When you're getting all of that validation, it's easier because now your subconscious mind is trained to say to the self, I'm beautiful, I love myself, I'm capable, I have abilities, I am strong, I am confident. It's easier to do all that, right? So what if you grew up in a home where you didn't receive that? The responsibility to yourself is the same. It's just that you didn't get the good springboard to jump off of. But it's still our responsibility to stick the landing. Meaning now that we are adults, now that we are out and on our own, regardless of our father tore us down every day, or if our father just wasn't there, it's our responsibility to validate ourselves. That's your job. Even if you still live with your parents, by the way, which, if they're abusive and neglective, I wouldn't advise. But regardless, if you're out, you're over 18, 19, you're on your own, it's your job now. It's your job to validate yourself. In fact, increasingly, it would have started to become your job as you were growing. Now, don't feel bad if you feel stunted here, because your lack of development was because you were just trying to survive growing up in the household you grew up in. And if you maladapted to be punishing of the self, remember, you were just trying to survive. That was how you learned to associate with yourself, to abandon yourself, and to abuse the self. That was how you learned to survive in this world. But now is the moment, while you're listening to this instructional talk, this is the moment where you make the adjustment, where you make the change and you say, uh-oh, this ain't working. I gotta switch something here in the way that I'm talking to myself and the way that I deal with myself. Because my counterpart that's saying to themselves, I love myself, I'm a good person, that's okay that I made a mistake. Hey, I don't need followers to be happy. I don't need a relationship to be happy. Well, I'm not here to please everyone else. That person who's saying all that to themselves, they're going to do better. Their mental health is going to be better. Their physical health is going to be better. Their financial health is going to be better. Their relationships are going to be better. Everything is going to be better for them, all because of the way they're talking to themselves in their mind. So now's the time to make the adjustment right now and say, whoa, hold on a second. Okay, father gave me a bad start. Mom was really toxic, but let me make the change. Step number one, okay, right? If we're taking notes, step number one, cut off toxic people. Cut out all invalidating toxic people. That's what we got to do. We're grown-ups now. We don't need them. Oh, it's my mom, though. I don't care who they are, what their original association with you is. You were not born onto this earth with a cord attached to you. Well, maybe you were when you were born, but the doctor snips it, right? we grow up and we live our lives without cords and strings. You see, you are an independent person. Look down, look at yourself. You're designed to be an independent, autonomous being. You are not born a slave. So it's not your job to be there. Mom, mama, are you okay? Mom, are you okay? Are you okay, mom? For the rest of your life. That's not your job. Just talking. La, 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 la. You're, oh my God. And then you try to share something about your day and she just shuts it down, invalidates it, doesn't listen. It is not your job to just sit here and continue to be abused by her. You're not her punching bag. Cut her out, cut her back. Depending on your circumstances, you look at your circumstances, you look at your situation, and you create some distance. Why is this important? Because this is step one to rebuilding your self-worth, your self-esteem to be able to become centered. You have to get rid of the toxic influence because toxic is poisonous and poisonous is deadly. Those relationships, the narcissistic, abusive, egopathic mom, sister, brother, father, those relationships are killing you. They're poisonous. So that's step number one. You just gotta cut them out of the whole situation. Okay. Now, when your life finally doesn't have anyone who's continuing to invalidate you, now you can focus on validating yourself. How exactly do we do that? Now that we don't have someone working against us, now we can start to make some progress, right? How do we do that? How do we focus on validating ourselves? Well, we remember that if we had grown up with a father that was validating, we would have gotten validation every day. So we're supposed to be getting validation from ourselves every day. So it's all in the way that I talk to myself. So then step number two here is going to be to watch the wording of my conversations with myself. Watch the wording. Wording is extremely important in your conversation with the self, right? Your inner voice, your inner dialogue. How so? Well, when you say to yourself, I can't, that's invalidating. Watch your wording. Stop saying I can't. I want to leave this job, but I can't. I'd like to leave this relationship, but I can't. I'd like to move out of my mom's house, but I can't. Stop saying I can't. That's invalidating. Change the wording of your inner self-talk, of the inner dialogue. Change that wording so that it doesn't invalidate the self. So for instance, instead of saying in your mind, I can't get another job, you say, I would like to get another job, but now is not the best time. But I can get another job. It's an important difference because now we're not invalidating, right? Instead of saying, I can't leave this relationship right now, you just say, I'm working on leaving the relationship, or now might not be the best time, or I don't think that is the best move for me. That's fine, but empower the self, validate you, because you have the ability to make the decisions and to make the right ones. Your father would have built you up, told you were good at things. He would have said you're beautiful, you were strong. You say, okay, fine. So what am I supposed to do? Affirmations? Well, yeah, but I don't usually say, use affirmations because the term kind of has been used to apply to just saying things to yourself that aren't necessarily true to convince yourself, which can work. So I'm not against it, but it's important to me that you're very honest with yourself because we have to create a relationship with the self that is impeccable. And we can't create that impeccable relationship if you're dishonest with the self. So I don't want you to lie, just like I wouldn't ask you to lie to your child. So when you're telling them affirmations, when you're affirming the child, how do you tell them things without lying to them? Like, what if you look at your child and, to be honest, I mean, they're beautiful to you, but they're not gonna be a beauty pageant winner. So how can we still build the child up if maybe they're not actually truly the most beautiful person in the world. How can we still build them up? Just watch the wording, right? You don't tell the child a lie. You don't say, you are the most beautiful girl or guy in your class. If that's not true, don't lie to the child, right? That's not the proper type of validation. But instead, you're just going to make sure you word it in a way that is true, but still affirming. You are so beautiful to me. I love you so much. You are beautiful in your own way. You are beautiful inside and out. You're going to tell them what is true. Likewise, you're going to do the same for the self. Tell yourself what is true about the self. If you want to improve in certain areas, commendation leads to motivation. If you commend the self, you're more motivated to improve those things. So if there's things you want to improve about, let's say your physical appearance, it's better for you to say, you know what, I'm already doing it really good on the top half of my body. So when I bring it up on the bottom half, I'm going to be even more excited. See the way I watch my wording instead of just saying, I hate my thighs. I hate my thighs. My thighs are awful. No. Say it in a nice way, right? Just like if you were caring for someone else. Say, hey, you're doing so good on the top half. I'm loving the top half. And as you continue your workout plans, the bottom half is going to be just getting even better, right? Give yourself the affirmations, give yourself the commendation, and give the self the motivation, but do it in a way that's still accurate. Is that making sense? Find what's true, find what's positive. And by the way, focus on what you do well and drive in the commendation and the strength and the power and the energy there instead of saying, I have a flaw that I need to improve. I need to improve on these flaws. There's a lot of things I really don't do well. Well, of course, you may indeed have some things to improve on, and it's okay to make improvements there, but focus on your strengths. Focus majority of your energy, 85% of your energy on your strengths. And only improve the weaknesses to the degree you need to get by. This is a key to life. You do not want to focus all your energy on what you're weak in, right? Think about McDonald's. Would you think it's right for the McDonald's executives to say, you know what, we're doing good on burgers, but our Chinese food game is really terrible. Yeah, we really need to get on our Chinese food game. We have a true weakness there. So let's invest the next $1 billion of advertising and development revenue. Let's invest that into being better at making Chinese food. Does that sound like a winning plan for McDonald's? Don't invest in your weaknesses. We would rather see McDonald's say, hey, we're doing good on the burgers, but what if we invested this next billion into being even better and more efficient at making a better burger? So with the strengths, I want to see them invest and make their burgers even better, even more nutritious, even more healthy, even more hearty, right? So that they're constantly improving on their game, on what they do well. I don't want to see McDonald's come out with Kung Pao chicken and sweet and sour and fried rice. That would be disgusting. So focus on your strengths, not on your weaknesses, your strengths. 15% you can reserve over here to improve your weaknesses to the degree that you can to get by. But each of us come with a special set of gifts, skills, and abilities, something special about us, and we do better to bring that to the table. When it comes to your feelings, you are invalidating yourself if you get mad at yourself for feeling the feelings you feel, or you deny the feelings that you're feeling, or you gaslight yourself. Like all of that is invalidating. And remember, we learn to abandon ourselves in childhood. So we may have learned, well, it's a bad thing if I get angry. It's a bad thing if I cry. But all that is invalidating your feelings. Don't invalidate your own feelings. So whatever you're feeling, learn to validate yourself by validating the feelings that you are feeling. How do you do that? Well, when you're having a negative emotion, instead of getting angry that you had a negative emotion or getting upset that you had a negative emotion, just simply use stop. S-T-O-P. Stands for be still, be thoughtful, be observant, be patient. Stop. The STOP acronym will help you tremendously in developing the skills of self-validation. Because when you feel something or when you think something, when you stop and you be still, that will stop you from acting on the emotion. By being still, by practicing being still, then you don't have to worry that you're going to do something out of anger that you will later regret. When you focus on being thoughtful, then you're going to observe the emotion with thought. So instead of saying, oh my God, I'm anxious, I say, that's interesting. I'm feeling anxiety. That's interesting. I'm feeling anger. Right? Which plays into the O, which is being observant. Right? And in the thinking process, you can break down and go deep into it. Why am I feeling anger right now? That's interesting. Why am I feeling anger right now? Well, that's interesting. Why am I feeling anxiety? Don't invalidate it. Oh, I'm so stupid for being angry right now. Oh, I'm so stupid for being afraid. I hate myself. That's invalidation. No more of that. We don't do that anymore. That's done. Now we stop. So by being still and being thoughtful, thinking about what it is we're feeling, why we're feeling it, being observant means non-emotionally, simply be the observer of what's happening inside your body. Just look at, oh, that's something went through me right there. That was really interesting. I felt something. Why is it important to stop and to actually observe what's happening inside you instead of allowing yourself to act on it? It's because really all the transgression is in the actions, right? All of the regrets are really in the actions. You don't look back and say, I regret that I felt upset. You look back and you say, I regret what I did. It's expected that if you feel angry, you are able to control yourself and not lash out and hit someone. That's where the regrets are, right? If you feel, let's say you're married and you feel a sense of attraction to someone that's not your spouse. Is it that initial feeling that washes through you? Is that where the sin is? No, it's in the actions, right? If you decide to continue meditating on that person and pondering and ruminating on the person, then you're getting into the regrettable action. If you are turning your head and continue looking and looking and looking and looking and looking at the person, right? Now you're getting into the regrettable action. If you go up and you start trying to speak and get into a relationship with a person, now you're getting into the regrettable action. So stop. Be still, be thoughtful, be observant, and last of all, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Don't be upset. If you notice, oh man, Roman talked about validating the self just yesterday, and here I am today with a negative inner thought or a negative inner voice. Forget it. I'm done with this healing nonsense. And you walk away. That's not patience. Be patient. It takes time. What we're doing is we're retraining the brain using the stop process. We're training the brain to slow down. Because when you slow down, then you don't have to keep externalizing everything. Externalizing is the maladaptive behavior of always looking to the outside for the validation. That's why we're going out and we're looking at, okay, who's going to be in a relationship with me? Then I'll be valid. Who's going to follow me on my social media? Then I'll be valid. Am I pleasing everyone? Because as long as everyone's happy, then I'm valid. As long as they didn't abandon me, then I'm valid. And all that's wrong. Internalize. As long as I don't abandon myself, then I'm valid. As long as I have a good relationship with myself, then I'm valid. If I take myself out to the movies and out to dinner, that's valid. We have to retrain our thinking. And in order to retrain our thinking, we have to stop and be still and be thoughtful and be observant and be patient. Turn off the music when you're by yourself. Sometimes you don't have to always listen to music. Turn off the music. Be with yourself. Stop abandoning yourself. Stop abandoning your thoughts. Be with yourself. Listen to what you're saying. Think about it. Analyze things. Become analytical. Start turning things around. Why do I think I need someone in order to be valid? These are thoughts you start having when you're alone. This is called meditation. To pause and to think. This is meditation. Why do I feel like I need someone? Let me think about this for a moment. All of the people I admire, that I look up to, that I think are valid, do they have to have someone that they're dating? Do I think they're valid because of the person they're dating? The people I admire and that I see as truly valid, it's not because of who they're dating. It's not because of who they married. Sometimes I don't even know who they're dating or who they married because it doesn't really matter. 95% of the people that I view as valid are valid because of something they've done or they're doing or the way that they are. It's because of them, the soul of their being. It's not because of who else is on their arm. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I realize I don't need another person to be valid. I just need to be there for myself. Why do I think I need followers on Instagram or YouTube in order to be valid? All of the people that I admire, is it because of how many followers they have on Instagram that I feel that they are valid? My goodness, no. What invalidates them is the way they live in their purpose and how they're utilizing their gifts, not how many people are following them. Oh my gosh. Those were maladaptive beliefs. I have to change those. It becomes very simple to help the self advance and to change the beliefs and to control the mind when we stop. We spend time with ourselves. So please be still, be thoughtful, be observant, be patient, and don't search for anything or anybody to validate you, because only you can validate yourself.